I want to welcome Agile XRM to the podcast. I've known the people at Agile XRM for the past 12 years. I've seen how their business process management tool can add massive value to complex organizational processes in sectors such as finance and government. If you have complex processes or a need for dialogues on the Power Platform or Dynamics 365, take a look at how this BPM tool can add value. You can find them at agilexrm.com or check out the show notes for more details. Welcome to the MVP Show. My intention is that you listen to the stories of these MVP guests and are inspired to become an MVP and bring value to the world through your skills. If you have not checked it out already, I do a YouTube series called How to Become an MVP. The link is in the show notes. With that, let's get on with the show. Today's guest is from Colorado in the United States. He's the director at RSM. He was first awarded as MVP in May 2022, so this year, fantastic, or actually might be last year, depending on when you're listening to the show. He focuses on retail and commerce. He loves technology and gadgets. Sounds like a man after my own heart. You can find links to his bio, socials, etc. in the show notes for this episode. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you on. So Colorado, It's one of the prettiest places in the US, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gorgeous. We just have great weather. It's funny, it'll snow and dump, and we'll think for sure we're going to have the snow around for a long time, and then the sun will come out and it'll melt and it'll be beautiful. It just snowed a few weeks ago. So yeah, very nice place to live.
So I take it you're heading into winter now, so are you expecting a lot more snow, and do you get totally snowed in?
Usually not. So that's one of the nice things, some of the other places in the Midwest, it snows a lot and you're snowed in and stuck. But fortunately, with the Colorado weather, we get a lot of snow in the mountains, but down in the foothills, we have a little bit more space. The sun comes out and the roads clear off and we're all set to play and go to the park again.
Nice. Tell me a bit about food, family, and fun, those things that you do when you're not working.
Yeah, sure. Food is great. My favorite food is pizza and spaghetti. So those are always great. It helps because I have 3 kids as well. A son who's 7, a daughter who's 5, and my youngest daughter is 2.5. So they keep me busy, and it's they like pizza and spaghetti too. So it works out for all of us. For fun, I like to run. I've run a little less these past couple of years with the pandemic going on, but I like to get out with friends and go for a run, enjoy the weather. I like to watch movies and TV shows, as well as play with fun little Arduinos, which are microcontrollers. I have some here behind me, but that's where I can kind of incorporate technology, combine some software into the physical world with some hardware. And I find that pretty fun.
So are you like doing home automation with those or what's the use cases?
Yeah, sure. So I actually don't use those for home automation, but I do have kind of hooked up around my house, all my light switches, hooked up to, our Alexa app and all the rest. Sorry for it going off anyone's, dots that are there, but I love being able to, climb into bed and just tell, all the lights to turn off or push that button on my phone instead of doing the old dance of, you turn on your nightstand, then you go turn off your room light, then get back in, turn off your nightstand. So it's pretty fun. And now even my kids can tell, the lights to turn off or the video to pause. And that's pretty fun and amusing to watch them being understood as they get older. They'll even set timers on each other. If they're, playing on a tablet or something, they'll take turns. And so they'll set timers for themselves of when they need to switch. So it's definitely a technology house.
Wow. That's so cool. As in my 2-year-old I think she's just so close to that point of setting the timers and things like that. I think I saw on my network the other day, I think I have 200 odd devices connected now in my home.
Sure.
and my
Yep.
and my network extends well outside my house. My greenhouse is all automated. Um, my workshop's all automated. I think I've got 11 security cameras outside, all Wi-Fi, and then I've got my wired set of cameras as well. So yeah, I certainly love having the ability to remotely turn on or off anything from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. I find it's interesting because sometimes you just introduce a new piece of technology to a very common situation, but all of a sudden it can be a game changer, right? You do something differently, and now you never do it the same way again. And I just think that's interesting. Sometimes it's a very small, change of idea or technology, and it can make a huge difference to that situation.
So true, so true. What was your journey into technology? What was that pathway for you?
Sure. Yeah. I have to think a ways back now, but I think, we got a computer when I was a kid. My dad actually worked for IBM and switched from working on electronic printers to software. And we got the computer, and I love just the idea of being able to play with that computer and program. So, I started out some very rudimentary programming, not very good, but knew that was just intriguing. To me, that's, when you think of Harry Potter and the wizards, to me, programming is just magic in a way, given enough time to program that spell. So, since then, I just practiced, took some classes in high school, again, was horrible at it, had a lot of help from different friends to figure it out. Even into college, really was still struggling, but knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I actually got a degree at University of Colorado in electrical and computer engineering, and then started working and really just have done software ever since. And it kind of based on those early days of having other colleagues mentor me and train me is what it got me to the place where I am now, of just giving back to those people, of going, man, I sure had, I sure was blessed by so many people who taught me so much. It's really fun to be at a point where I can do the same for others and many people I don't even know. And I think that's one of the great powers of just social media and the internet and what we can share online.
So good. Tell me about bring me up to speed about your current role, how you got into that role. How do how did you get into things like the Power Platform? What was your journey into this area of technology that you're in now?
Yeah, sure. So I actually started working on Dynamics AX40 when I first started. And yeah, it's been a little while. And I was part of a standard product team with a company called Junction Solutions. And so we would write software to fill in some of the gaps that the software had at that time. We'd try to sell it for different industries, and they'd say, well, what about this? What about this? And without those gaps kind of being filled in, it was harder at that time to sell this ERP system. So we really worked on filling in those gaps around call center, different aspects, so we could sell it. And I did that for a whole bunch of years until finally, maybe around, I don't know, over 7 years ago now, we Dynamics AX 2012 R3 came out. And as part of that, we actually sold most of that software to Microsoft. And it was a cool experience. We got to work with the Microsoft product team members to get our code into the base product. And so it's one of my, badges, my claim to fame of, okay, I've got some code that is now part of the D365 based product, goes out to everyone. And then since that, I transitioned to managed application services role, helping clients directly, more support role, enhancements, etc. And so, that kind of brings me up to speed of where I am now. Now I'm a director with RSM. RSM acquired Junction Solutions about 7 years ago, largely for our D365 practice. And we've kind of expanded from there. And then I could, share a little bit about my retail journey as well. Eventually Microsoft came out with a point of sale. They acquired this point of sale system from LS Retail, and they needed some people to figure out this point of sale product and how to use it and set it up. So I actually flew out to Atlanta, did one of those early trainings, and that's kind of a fun side story. As part of that same trip, my wife's parents live in Orlando, Florida. And so I used that trip at the end of it, flew down there and actually asked them for permission to marry my wife. So I kind of tag teamed that trip, but that kind of got me started on retail, which is kind of my main focus industry now.
Wow. So POS, and if you try to acquire POS for customers, let's say 12 years ago, 15 years ago, it was very hard. It didn't seem to sit under the normal dynamic SKU set that Microsoft has. Yes, it was Dynamics 365 POS. Has that all changed now? Is that all just part of, because it's not an area that I specialize in, but is that just now one of the SKUs that's available in the Dynamics suite that customers can purchase?
Yeah, so you can actually purchase it in a few different ways. You can purchase license for, they call it Commerce now. They used to kind of call it retail, and that word still sticks in there, retail and commerce. But you can actually buy those SKUs, and some of them can even become included for you to use the POS. And as well, you can actually buy it separately. So you can just use D365 for commerce. It allows you to set up stores and registers and prices and lots of other things to be able to essentially just run the POS, or now more recently, the e-commerce platform. And so one of the cool things too, a few years back, our client St. Michel Winery, we worked with them as the first client live on Microsoft's e-commerce platform. So it's just one of these dream come trues of years and years back of having this omni-channel solution that really ties in together these different retail channels, when so many middle market clients just couldn't do that, right? You always had disparate systems, managing discounts and all the problems. And I think, thank goodness, just even in the last 2-3 years, how much change and growth we've seen with our clients just around the desire to have buy online, pick up in store because of the pandemic. And so I think it's definitely been an exciting industry to be in.
Mm-hmm. Since the pandemic is on, we've seen commerce platform really take off at Microsoft. Are you seeing that kind of adoption where the customers you're engaging with, there's a lot higher interest in the whole commerce story from Microsoft? I'm going to ask some multi-part questions. So let's answer that one first, and then I'll get into the others.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, as you can imagine, a lot of clients already have an e-commerce platform. That's kind of been a requirement for a long time. So it's definitely taken some time for some of those clients to say, okay, do we really want to move off of what we have? What are the advantages that we get? And so I think as Microsoft's continued to fill out that feature set, you're doing direct order management at stores and inventory availability, all these different advantages, that's become more and more attractive for clients to be all in. Whereas before it was like, well, okay, yes, this exists, but is it really worth migrating off the systems we have? But it has been exciting as more and more clients are making that transition.
What about the integration to things like Dynamics 365 marketing, right? Because if you have any real e-commerce type story scenarios, generally you've got the marketing part of the organization driving traffic to that. And of course, that then begs the question, how integrated is that story between commerce? And then I suppose the other one is, does it have its own portal platform, or is it using Power Pages as its main portal? Or, because, if you've worked with Microsoft for any period of time, like you have, you know that there's 5 different products for everything, right? That's out there, rather than a unified type. Here's a product that'll, that all stitches together. What's your view?
It is that balance of, okay, at what point do you have too many SKUs? Do you like the flexibility, or does it now make it difficult because we're just giving you too many options? So we have seen some clients with the marketing, others have used their own third parties to, send out those emails and do that lead generation. But I think there's even other components to e-commerce and point of sale that just keep getting added on based on what Microsoft's releasing. So one example is CE. So D365 CE, right? That's been a system that, of course, been around for a long time, but we're starting to see more and more clients say, no, I have this CE platform. I want to do that for storing my customers. I even want to do some direct placing of sales orders in there. So I really need payments to cross between CE, be able to take a credit card token, a authorization within CE, and then send that sales order via dual right into D365 FNSC. So that's just another example where, that more and more of these different SKUs are becoming integrated. And, as we kind of talked about before with technology, it is amazing. You just add sometimes that one little bit, and that integration adds more options very easily. So it's just a little bit deciding, what's best for the way you do business.
Tell me about your MVP journey.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been really blessed with some fantastic people, again, who have taught me a whole lot. So one of those people was Rachel Prophet. She was an MVP for a number of years, and then she's now with Microsoft. And continuing to post different articles and videos and doing a phenomenal job there. So she actually used to work for the company that I work for now, RSM. And so she definitely was someone who kind of started this mentoring journey of going, okay, how do I teach other people about what it means to be an MVP, what it takes to be an MVP? And one of the people, or a couple of the people that she taught, are still with our company, Dion Taylor and Seth Bacon. And so I continued to be mentored by Dion Taylor, who taught me a ton of how to be successful at training others. And I think, too, right from the get-go, it wasn't about, hey, becoming an MVP. It was, how do we make an impact with what we're doing? I think we spend a whole lot of time, whether it's writing articles or creating videos, it really should be about how do we give back? And of course, we want good bang for our work of giving back. And then it was just that concept I heard from another MVP earlier on. Hey, if you're doing these actions and that comes, that's great. But it really should be about, would you be doing this even regardless of this MVP? And I think that was really crucial to remember, even when it was challenging and it was a lot of work. But I really learned a lot from Dion Taylor. She eventually nominated me, and then I actually did not get nominated or approved the first time I went up for MVP. They said, yeah, you're not quite there yet. And I was like, okay, that's great. And, that was tricky. And at the same time, I thought to myself, well, I still have more that I want to write about. There's a lot more that I have to share. So let's just keep going. And then I checked in with our Microsoft's community program manager, Christian. At the time, he's now moved. And he said, okay, we're checking it in. And sure enough, I found out, May 1st, that I was approved. So that was really exciting.
Epic. That's so good. That's so good. The best thing about being an MVP for you is what?
So I think, that's a tricky question. I think the thing that comes to mind just more immediately is the continued community. So the existing MVPs have been extremely gracious and kind. They just invited me into an email group and said, hey, how can we help you? How can we welcome you? They've invited, now Nathan Klaus has invited me to speak with him at different community summits and things like that. And I think I'm just really blown away around their kindness in that. And I think that's been more the immediate need. I think longer term, I've looking forward to being able to, pay it forward. As you mentioned in your 90-day mentoring challenge, one of the last things of pay it forward, I'm looking forward to teaching others about, how they can give back, how they can be successful in just even whether it's writing blog articles or videos or whatever it happens to be. I'm looking forward to that.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If you like the show and want to be a supporter, check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Thanks again, and see you next time.